to Committee of the Whole meeting, the last one of this council term. Our chair, Councillor McKenna, is having some technical difficulties, so I'll be chairing until we get him online. But we'll start off the meeting and call things to order with the land acknowledgement. So on November 7th, 2022, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been the site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Councillor McKenna, welcome.
It's actually Chair McKenna.
Chair McKenna. Well, now it is. We'll transfer this.
Thank you for stepping in, and Councillor Allen and I are, with the help of the amazing Smith Falls staff, they've got us back on. So thank you, Councillor McGuire. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, any disclosure of monetary interests? Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one. It's on item 8.7, the appointment of the building inspector report. I manage a department that would provide a competing service. So I will declare on that.
All right, thank you. I don't see any other declarations at this point. There are no delegations. We do have the adoption of the minutes, and I'll be looking for a motion that the minutes of the October 17th, 2022, October 31st, 2022, Committee of the Whole meeting be received and filed. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Dwyer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. CAO Morris, could you just have some directors' reports tonight?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair. We have three, in fact, and we can start things off with Director Manhire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick update that I'm sure Council has seen, but the education strike that was on for the last couple of days has been put aside so that they will be back at school tomorrow. And as we also know, the CDC was not in a position to be able to provide daycare for school-age children. So we're very glad to see this over.
Thank you. Is there another director's report?
Yes, two more. The next being Director Costello.
Thank you. Quickly, I wanted to update Council that the Municipal Heritage Committee has requested a deferral of the proposed heritage designations for 39 Russell Street East, 102 Brockville Street, and 110 Brockville Street. Objections have been received by the owners of these properties, and staff is going to consult with the owners and try to have a discussion. The Heritage Act gives 90 days from when the objections were due, which was October 26th. To pass a bylaw or withdraw it. So staff will bring this forward to the next council. Also, planning staff wanted me to advise that all planning applications have been updated and they're on the town's website or available from staff. They've all been standardized and up to date in terms of content and more user-friendly format. A reminder to all that the inaugural meeting is next Tuesday evening. There will be no meeting on Monday, November 14th. The inaugural will be Tuesday, November 15th, and it'll commence at 5 p.m. and it is taking place upstairs at the Memorial Community Center. The public is more than welcome to attend, and the meeting will be live streamed. And the fourth is a reminder of the municipal grant program. For those wishing to submit applications, the deadline's November 30th at 4:30 p.m. The applications can be found on Speak Up Smith Falls or by calling the clerk's office. Those are my reports.
Thank you. And Director Costello, could you just confirm that this will not interfere with our priority issue 8.1 tonight, your deferral of those heritage properties?
No, it will not.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. And one more, CAO Morris.
Yes, I have two brief updates to share with committee this evening. The first, relates to Bill 23. This was introduced on October 25th, so not too long ago. This is the proposed More Homes Built Faster Act 2022. It was posted to the Environmental Registry of Ontario again on the 25th of October. There's a fairly tight turnaround. The comments are due by November 24th, so not a lot of time. I just want to share that staff have had a cursory review, and it's revealed some fairly significant proposals that we need to seriously consider. We will have a report on the November 21st Committee of the Whole agenda. So I won't go too far into it this evening because it's there's a lot of proposed changes, but there are, to give you an example, some limits on third-party appeals that would be a big change. Site plan control changes being proposed. The biggest one is they would be exempt for any residential development with 10 units or less. That's a big change. Additional residential units, they're proposing to allow up to 3 units or a triplex on each, most residential lots, most residential zones. Some fairly significant changes to conservation authorities that might have financial implications for municipalities. Some parkland dedication changes and development charges limitations that are being proposed. So it's again, it's extensive. We're combing through it. We're going to provide that to the next council on the 21st. So just a heads up that we think it would be wise to submit a response to the environmental registry, and we won't have a lot of time to do that. So that's the first item. Second one, I just wanted to provide a thank you to this council, being our expected last meeting of this term. And just want to acknowledge that, you know, by way of summary, this council has been very, very strategic in their approach. You embraced the strategic planning in the beginning of your term, and I think that served you and the town very, very well. You've been very decisive. When we bring issues forward, you want to make decisions and move on. That's much appreciated by staff. Very results-oriented group. We had 41 strategic initiatives to accomplish, and although that was very, very ambitious, I'm happy to say we've either completed or started every one of them. And I think most importantly, what I want to express on the part of staff is your support of staff. There was an acknowledgement we had a lot on our plate. There was an acknowledgement that we were going through a pandemic. But you kept us focused, and for that we are appreciative. So again, it's been a pleasure serving for this term of council, and we look forward to the next one. So thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO Morris. Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, thanks for that. And on the Bill 23, we had a little talk the other day about that and these changes coming down. My suggestion would be to also involve our local MPP, who is also a parliamentary secretary, make sure he's aware and even have a sit down and because he sits in caucus, and that those concerns would come forward there. So let's keep Mr. Jordan informed as well.
Yes, CEO Morris.
Yeah, a great suggestion. We will certainly do so. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. And thank you for those kind words, CEO Morris. We have no correspondence items, and I do believe we have an in-camera, and I would recommend a motion that Council of the Corporation of Smith Falls, as provided in Section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended, move into a closed meeting at 5:11 to review an in-camera minutes for adoption. So I'm looking for a mover. Thank you, Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? That's carried. We'll go briefly in camera for this, and we'll be back shortly. Please stay tuned.
Okay, and we're just going to wait till the live stream goes back. Okay, Chair McKenna, we're back in open session.
Great, thank you. We've just reviewed some minutes in camera, some in-camera minutes. That's the Rise and Report. And that will be the last in-camera session of this particular council. We're moving on to priority issues. 8.1 Heritage Designation Bylaw. And Mr. Grenke, are you with us today? Welcome.
I am Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. As part of the Heritage Bylaw update process, the town has retained MTBA associates to update our existing heritage designations to align with the with current legislation. So as previously reported, over the last several decades, actually, starting in the 1970s, we've adopted a number of bylaws designating heritage properties throughout the town, a number of them, and many of the bylaw language is either vague or otherwise not terribly helpful in defining what is an attribute of significance, which certainly has significant implications when reviewing proposals for development or other things. So as part of that update process, the consultants have drafted bylaws for or redrafted amending bylaws for 14 existing heritage designations. So on August 22nd, council directed staff to notify the owners of these properties, several of which are the town, and the only feedback received from property owners, in this case one of the town properties, related to minor technical corrections that we can make. So at this point, council is in position to adopt amending designation bylaws for the properties. Our recommendation is that we do 11 of the 14 on legal review. We determine these owned by the town actually do not, those designations have not been registered on title. So with council's direction or committee's direction, we're proposing to adopt the 11 amendments for the existing designations and then engage in legal discussion to determine for the town-owned properties whether it's best to bring a new bylaw forward to council, a new designation bylaw forward to council, or otherwise bring further amendments. So I'll pause there and look for committee's direction.
Comments, questions from my colleagues? Councillor Allen.
Yes, I definitely approve of this. The rewrites are excellent, and many of these, it was well overdue time for us to update them. And it's to me, it's great that we have so many now, and I look forward to this evening, these coming forward, these 11, and I hope that the others do in the next term of council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And yeah, big thanks to the committee. We've been talking about this, I think, since Nikki recruited me to join the MHC back in the day. So really excited to see it. I'm a little disappointed with the deferrals just because the reasoning in the report, like these are things I feel like we could have ironed out already so we could get them all done. But I'm hoping it's one of the first things that the next council can do is get those last 3 wrapped up. So yeah, big hand to everybody involved. Thanks.
So I've heard from 2 for a thumbs up, and I'm seeing it's a consensus. Thank you, Mr. Grenke. Is there anything else you wanted to add? You have support?
Thank you. I have the direction I need. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Brilliant. Thank you. And 8.2 is the water treatment plant. Mr. Barlow is going to lead us onto this one.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairperson McKenna, Mayor, members of council. Tonight, I'm presenting report 2022-149. The purpose of this report is to obtain authorization from the town council to purchase the required chlorine dioxide generator equipment from International Dioxide for the water treatment plant trihalmethane reduction project and intake zebra mussel control as recommended as option 1 within this report. Some background: the town initiated the study with EVB Engineering this year to identify some possible solutions for reducing the formation of our THMs, or trihalomethanes, within the drinking water system, while still being able to inhibit the growth of the invasive zebra mussel on the water system's intake and associated structures. Currently, we use pre-chlorination from May to September every year to control the formation of the zebra mussels on the intake structure. Minimizing this formation at this point is critical to ensure the sustainability of the drinking water system. Therefore, the zebra mussel control is required in one form or another. And with this chlorine dioxide generator equipment, this prevents THM formation by disinfecting without chlorinating the organic material and by oxidizing the organic THM precursors. This means that pre-treatment with chlorine dioxide has an inhibiting effect on the THM formation. And when chlorine is subsequently used for secondary disinfection later in the process. Through the study, there were 3 quotations that were submitted. One was from SCG Process for an estimated cost of $75,010.75. This equipment used sodium chlorite and hydrochloric acid, which would have increased our chemical quantities at the facility. So it was deemed not to be one that would be beneficial, as we'd have to add storage tanks for the hydrochloric acid. Then they did not have a chlorine gas system, which is what we were looking for because we already have chlorine gas on site. So we then got a quote from International Dioxide Equipment for $73,000. This utilizes the chlorine gas, which we have on site, with only the addition of the sodium chloride solution. And also Evoqua also put a price together for a chlorine dioxide system at a price of $220,000, which utilizes the chlorine gas and the sodium chloride as well. So to assist with reducing the potential to form these disinfection byproducts, it's recommended that the International Dioxide Generator System be implemented at the town of Smith Falls water treatment plant. Within the 2022 capital budget, there was $136,000 approved for this project. With the chlorine dioxide generation equipment and the associated engineering costs, we will still fall within the allocated budget for 2022 with this purchase of this equipment and equipment that we'll need to finalize the project once we verify the equipment that we are purchasing from International Dioxide. And that is all I have.
Okay, it was a very interesting report to read. Thank you. Questions, comments? Mayor Panko?
Thanks, Jason. Very technical and very, I guess, chemistry oriented. So I appreciate your wisdom and advice here. You mentioned, so one question was asked was, what impact does it have on the operating budget going forward? You made reference to that, but I don't think you can answer that question today. Is it fairly significant or can be fairly immaterial?
Through the chair, the cost right now, or the operational cost, the main cost is going to be the sodium chlorite, which needs to be purchased. And right now, our estimate is around $20,000 to $25,000 for the year for that chemical.
Okay, so not insignificant for sure, but as you've indicated very clearly to us, something that's definitely required. So I will certainly support the recommendation.
Anyone else with a question or comment? I had one, Mr. Barlow. The zebra mussels have been in the Rideau system for about 20 years now. And I wondered, and this is not a question, I guess more of a comment, because you might be able to answer it, but I'm not trying to set you up is what I'm saying. The zebra mussels have actually cleaned a lot of the vegetation and debris out of the water, made it cleaner. And I wondered at the time what we were spending on cleaning that water before the introduction of zebra mussels and the energy it put into it. But then when they came, they started clogging things up. So we had to go to a new way. And I just wondered if they offset the benefits and the downside. And I don't know if you have an opinion. It was just a thought I had.
Yeah, through the chair, just comment on that is, you know, they have cleaned up the water in all the different areas that they have invaded, but there is still the issue of them finding areas like intakes because of the flow of the water. That's where they want to go so they can filter the solids or the particles within the water in those areas because it is more confined. So there's still areas that the zebra mussels like to congregate and cause issues.
Yeah, thank you. I'm seeing support and nodding head for your recommendation and going forward. So I think that will be on tonight's meeting as well, the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Barlow.
Thank you.
And now we're moving on to 8.3, and Director Manhire is going to talk about request for ice from Docks on Ice.
So this will not test council's knowledge of biology or biochemistry. So this report is that the Docks on Ice came to council back in July to request a discount on rates for a tournament happening in March and April of next year. Staff were asked to take a deeper look at what was involved in the tournament and make a recommendation. And the recommendation I have tonight is that we not support that fee reduction for the couple of reasons. One is that our ice rates are actually one of the lowest in the area, and so very affordable in terms of the rates that are being paid. As well, most of the events, while there's a benefit obviously to having Smiths Falls as part of the tournament location, there are 5 different locations that they're going to be playing in. So it's nice to have them as part of Smiths Falls, but the vast majority of the activities are not happening in Smiths Falls, they're happening in Perth. And then the charities that are part of the donations being received through the tournament are also not necessarily Smiths Falls based. I'll leave it at that and entertain any questions.
Comments, questions? Are people supportive of Director Manhire's recommendation? I'm seeing thumbs up all around. It's unanimous. Yes, it is. So thank you, Director Manhire. We're delighted to have them, and they're getting a good deal as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
8.4 is appointment of the bylaw officer report. Deputy Clerk Bennett is going to take this one.
Good evening. This is further to a recent recruitment that we had in the bylaw services. We had a resignation from a former officer. So staff sent out an advertisement and successfully recruited a gentleman by the name of Isaac Taylor. And Isaac will be the new bylaw officer in the town of Smiths Falls. We'll now have 2 bylaw enforcement officers. So tonight I'm seeking council support to bring forward a bylaw to officially appoint Isaac Taylor as a bylaw officer for the town of Smiths Falls.
Comments, questions? I'm seeing again fairly unanimous support all around for that, Deputy Clerk Bennett, and I think that will be on our meeting after this one as well.
Yes, it will. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome aboard. We're on to 8.5, which is the docking lease agreement, and CAO Morris is going to take that conversation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members may recall back in June, we had a discussion about LeBoat and their presence here in Smiths Falls. Their North American headquarters are here. And it was a foreshadowing of the agreement, the 5-year lease agreement that we had in place expired at the end of October. And so we've been negotiating their continued presence here in Smiths Falls. So back in June, we brought it forward to agree in principle to work with LeBoat to accommodate their expansion plans here in Smiths Falls, and also to continue negotiating. So we've done that. We've finalized discussions with them, and we're now recommending rather a dock lease agreement. So many of the terms and conditions in the former agreement would remain. There would be a few new conditions, and I'll go through those briefly. But what's important is we're without an agreement at this point with LeBoat. So I'll take you back in time when we were working with LeBoat to come here to Smiths Falls. They had developed their business plan and their growth plan, and they started with 16 vessels, and their plan in 5 years was to grow to 32 vessels. And that's exactly what they're proposing to do with this final step of their expansion. Back in June, we had reason to believe they would be moving to 34 boats, meaning they would bring 4 more in 2023. They've adjusted that to 2 more, bringing the total to 32 for 2023. So I just want to make that clarification. That changed slightly from our discussion in June. What's most salient about this agreement are a few changes. One is we agreed on a 7-year arrangement that would keep things rolling for the next 7 years. We would add 7 additional mooring slots or docks spaces, and that was important to accommodate the additional vessels coming, but also this past year was a little bit awkward operationally for them. They had to move boats up and down between the combined lock because they had 30 in the fleet, but didn't have enough dockage to suitably serve all 30. There are provisions that to replace a life expired dock in the lower reach. That was a dock we had in stock 5 years ago. It was nearing the end of its life then. It's now past its life. So we're proposing to replace it with something more functional for that space. It's a very tight compressed space at the foot of the former flight of 3 locks, the abandoned lock, that is. The town would upfront the costs of the purchase, and what's important to note here is the town would own the docks. We would simply be leasing them for 7 years with a full cost recovery over that 7-year period. And I think one of the most important elements of this agreement is we've got consensus to share dock space. So of the slips that will be available for LeBoat, if during the peak season when most of their boats are not on the dock, in years past they sat vacant. We want to use that space, so we have agreement and an understanding that we would work together to fill empty docks each night, meaning we could accommodate more transient boaters especially during the peak season. So we've wrapped up discussions based on those significant elements of the arrangement. And at this point, we're recommending also a pre-budget approval. The estimated cost for the docks is $130,000. We're recommending pre-budget approval so that we can do 2 things. Firstly, we can get the dock building in the queue. There's a significant wait time for docks, like most building projects. So we want to be ready for Victoria Day next year. We also want to be able to execute the agreement and get a commitment from LeBoat to commit for the next 7 years. So pre-budget approval would allow us to move ahead with this and fulfill our obligations within the proposed agreement. So I think that covers the important points, and I'll pause at this point and answer any questions you might have.
Councillor Dwyer and then Mayor Panko.
Thanks. This is more of a technicality than anything else, but we received an email from Deputy Clerk Bennett earlier this month, confirming that we were indeed in a lame duck position, which means we can't spend or direct the spending of more than $50,000. And I understand that we've already kind of preemptively passed a bylaw to allow CAO Morris to action things. So at a minimum, I would think that the resolution that we're passing tonight should be to make direction to the CAO. But I think it should clearly state that if this is going to go ahead, that we're doing so during a lame duck provision. And quite frankly, I think for the sake of waiting until new council comes on board, I would feel better having this postponed until that time. That's just my 2 cents. I wasn't super comfortable with the idea that we were giving pre-budget approval to something for a budget that wasn't going to be decided on by the sitting council to begin with. And while I can appreciate that there's efficiencies to executing the contract so that we can queue up faster, I don't think it's pertinent for us to do that.
Thank you. Any response, CAO Morris, or thoughts on that? Or Deputy Clerk Bennett?
Mr. Chair, I think that would be, the decision of this council. I think because that authority has been granted to commit capital funding, then yes, I do have that authority. I would much rather utilize that authority knowing that there's support of council.
Okay, thank you. I think Mayor Panko was up next.
Thank you. And CAO Morris, a great job of ongoing negotiations with LeBeau to come up with a solution I think works for everyone. The full cost recovery, obviously, it makes sense. It makes it palatable for the town and for myself. Opening up all of the docks for other vessels starting next summer will obviously help us have additional dock space, hoping the traffic on the canal next summer is up and get maybe the price of gas is down, hopefully, but it just enables a better experience for boaters coming into town. So I think great job there. And of course, we all heard recently that LeBeau was recognized as one of the top 10 fastest growing companies in Eastern Ontario. So it was nice to see them do that. They followed through with everything they said they're going to do from, I think, the time we first started having discussions back in 2015. And hitting the 32 boats is a goal that they've aimed for. And despite a global pandemic, which impacted operations, they were able to pivot. And anyway, it's been a good news story all along. And with, I respect Councillor Dwyer's comments, and I will add my support to it if you're looking for support. And I guess we'll see how everyone else feels. But I think if we have at least the 4 returning members of council, I guess it gives you some guidance anyway in your decision making.
Anyone else? Councillor Brennan, and then McGuire.
Yeah, I appreciate Councillor Dwyer's comments. However, I'm more comfortable with it, and I do support it because it's full cost recovery. So at the end of the day, it's really not costing anything. We're just upfronting it, and they're releasing. So I'm fine with it, and I'm really happy with LeBeau and the people they bring to town. So.
Thank you. Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I like Councillor Dwyer. I'm not comfortable with this because I wouldn't be able to explain it. If I ran into someone around town and they said you're in lame duck, but you did a pre-budget approval for 130. Okay, well, it's a technicality because the CAO can spend the 130, but the council can't. It's too convoluted for me for the sake of waiting a week. But I've got bigger problems with the report. I'm wondering, so the $130,000 is just for the purchase of the docks. It still doesn't account for the staff time, the maintenance, all of those other costs we talked about at the last meeting. Is that correct?
Through the chair, the 130 covers the purchase, installation, and ongoing maintenance on an annual basis for the next 7 years.
So how has staff time and all of this come in? Because I thought that would be a part of it's a number, right? It's hard to understand what goes into that 130. Like how much of that is the docks and how much of that is the town's ongoing cost?
Yeah, so without revealing all of our negotiating elements, I would say from Director Manhire's experience in lowering the docks, we don't take them out, by the way, we simply lower them when the water's being lowered. So it's not a significant cost. I believe we have staff on site when the basin is being drained. So it is I would say it's a marginal cost, but we have allocated monies within here to cover those operating costs on the principle that this would be full cost recovery, capital and operating.
It's hard to know when we don't know what we've been spending in the past. It's still gray for me. I don't like that we're using a grant application to pay for this, because my understanding is that the Natural Infrastructure Fund grant is for increasing climate change resilience, mitigating carbon emissions, improving the environment through cleaner air and water, protecting and preserving biodiversity and wildlife habitats, and promoting people's access to nature. I just don't see, there's a lot of great ideas out there in Smith Falls that I'd love to see happen. And I don't know that LeBoat is the best use of this kind of a grant. It's not an economic development grant. It's not a grant for tourism. And there's a lot of ways that I think we could have really effectively used this application. So I guess at the end of the day, it's one opinion, but I'm not supportive of it as presented tonight.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Alfred.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I may be on my way out, but right now tonight I'm still a councillor, and I am supportive of this. As Councillor Brennan said, this is full cost recovery. This is also the CAO's decision, where he was given the authority to make this decision on his own, and he came to us as a way to make sure that he had support from this council, and this council was supportive back in June as well of him pursuing this. So I am supportive of this going on. Now, if and when that grant were to come through, and I think that was in the report that they could apply for it. I think the last thing that Councillor McGuire said was a promotion of interaction with nature. I've screwed up the words there, I'm sure, Chris, but you could make a case that LeBoat does that. So I am supportive of giving support to the CEO to make this decision after all the negotiations that he has carried out, and this council was supportive in June, and I think we should be supportive tonight to proceed with this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Allen.
Yeah, I just have one question for CEO Morris. Do you feel, CEO Morris, that we have enough dockage left? I mean, we're increasing the number that LeBoat are going to be using. Do you feel we have enough left for the people who are just coming to town that aren't LeBoat? They have their houseboat or they have their family boat that they're just vacationing on. Do you have a sense that we have enough dockage right now?
Yeah, through the chair, great question. And it's I mean, Victoria Basin is not large, and on a busy summer day, it can fill up, rather rapidly. But I think what's important here is the way we've arranged the dockage. So historically, boats docked parallel to the concrete wall. And so, you could only get so many boats. The arrangement we have is they dock what's called stern in. So instead of taking up 45 feet, they take up 8 feet of lineage dock space. So we've actually increased the capacity of the basin through the configuration that we've chosen. So the additional 7 docks would be similar. They would be docked stern in, and it uses more of the basin, but less of the shoreline, if I can describe it that way. So, and what's key here is we will now have access to vacant or empty spots on the original 16 plus the additional 7. So we'll have access to 23 slips that we didn't have access to before. And that 23 far exceeds the number of slips we would have had in the conventional approach of parking them parallel to the concrete dock.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, so I'm supportive of the recommendation as well. And I did have a question. Do you have a sense of the lifespan of the new docks that we'd be buying? Are we going to get?
Yeah, so we would look at each of them as a what we call a tangible capital asset, and we'll put a life cycle on it, and it will be at least 20 years that we'll be able to use the asset. So the payback is 7, so you can do the math on that and find that it's I think it's a good deal for the taxpayer.
Thank you, and I do appreciate Councillor Dwyer's comments earlier, but I think that was feedback to you. It looks like the majority of us would encourage you to proceed with your decision.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, so we're moving on to 8.6, unopened Burke Street road allowance. And Mr. Grinke, you're back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Further to Council's earlier direction, staff are bringing forward a recommendation that Council adopts a bylaw to stop up and close the remaining sections of the Burke Street road allowance and to convey the lands to 284774 Ontario Inc. for a purchase price of $52,000. As Council will recall, that the town received a proposal to from the company, care of Kevin Grimes, to purchase the roughly half-acre road allowance at the corner of Jones and Burke Street. Council subsequently adopted a resolution deeming the land surplus to the town's needs and giving notice of our intent to sell the land in accordance with the real property disposal bylaw. As other alternative options or bids were not received, and given the requester's continuing interest in acquiring the parcel at the same price, we're bringing forward the recommendation to execute the agreement of purchase and sale that's been agreed upon by the town solicitor and the requester solicitor. It is intended that this parcel be merged with a larger parcel owned by Mr. Grimes's company. However, at this point in time, no development proposal has been received. So I'll pause there and look for council's direction.
Councillor Dwyer.
So once again, we're disposing of an asset over $50,000 during lame duck period. So I don't have a great deal of comfort in that, despite the fact that we have previously authorized the transaction to proceed in principle. So in that case, I would ask that the motion be split into for the council agenda so that they are dealt with separately, as I will not be voting in favor of spending or rather of disposing of the asset.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? And again, is council comfortable turning this over to CEO Morris to complete with your support tonight? Or would you prefer a different option, Councillor McGuire?
I prefer the different option. Just it makes me uncomfortable. I don't understand why we delegated that authority if we're still de facto influencing that authority. And I don't have a legal opinion on that of what the right thing to do is right now. And the explanations don't make a ton of sense to me. So I'd rather be more cautious with it.
Okay. Any other comments? Mayor Panko?
Assuming this one isn't perhaps as time sensitive as our previous one, I'll turn to CEO Morris for an answer there. I'm fine either way.
Yeah, through the chair, I know this arrangement's been perhaps a little protracted, but if it were the consensus of committee that to wait, then I don't think it would be detrimental. But out of respect to Mr. Grimes, we brought it forward this evening because it has been ongoing for some time. What that would mean is a deferral for 2 weeks. So I'll just refer perhaps that question to Mr. Grinke to see if he's aware of any hardship that might create.
Mr. Grinke.
I am not aware of any particular hardship that would create. Certainly the proponents would welcome the completion of the process, but it doesn't. I see no reason that a delay or however long until the new council has an opportunity to take a look at it. I don't see that would cause a significant concern at this point.
Councillor, thank you, Mr. Grinke. Councillor Alford.
I see this slightly differently than I think Councillor Dwyer or Councillor McGuire did. We put ourselves on this path in this particular case in May. In the last case, it was in June. This council already made these decisions in effect several months ago. And in this particular case, we're not even spending $50,000, we're receiving $50,000. So as long as CAO Morris is comfortable with it, I'll be supportive of his recommendations. These are not new things that we just heard about tonight, or even in the last 2 weeks, or even, in fact, in the last 2 months. Council already committed its support to these things several months ago. And so I am fine with proceeding with CAO Moore exercising the delegation he was given. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Brennan, then Councillor Dwyer.
Yeah, I mean, in deference to my colleagues' concerns, I'm fine with deferring. However, I've got to agree with Councillor Alfred. I think we're just dotting the T and, you know, completing the process. That we've talked about this before. And, you know, we are in technically lame duck. So if it's not a big deal, then it's not a big deal. Defer for 2 weeks.
So which one, Councillor Brennan, which one are you doing?
Either way, I'm fine.
Well, okay.
I'm fine supporting it. And
Okay.
I'm fine, you know, deferring it. But you know, if the majority, anyway, we're just dotting the T here and
Okay.
or
thank
crossing
you.
the T and dotting an I, in my view.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dwyer, and then Councillor Allen.
Hi, sorry. Thank you. I appreciate that it's really a technicality, and I think it could be solved by changing the wording of the resolution so that it's not council who's giving the direction. It is simply the CAO actioning something. Again, technicality, but I think, you know, as a matter of public record, it is poor form for us to be actioning the disposal of land for a value of more than $50,000 during a lame duck period.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Allen.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I agree with Councillor Alford and Councillor Brennan. I think that we could go ahead and move this forward this evening.
Okay, so if, is it possible to just adjust that wording? I kind of like Councillor Dwyer's suggestion. It's just saying we're supportive of the CAO's recommendation, which is what we've all said. Deputy Clerk Bennett.
So there's one bylaw on tonight's agenda to stop up and close. And in that bylaw, there would be a portion to execute the purchase and sale agreement. So we certainly in all the bylaws can stipulate that the bylaws that are applicable to the delegated authority to the CAO, we will reference the bylaw where council delegated that authority, and certainly put that note in the bylaw as well. But we could separate the two bylaws too. If councillor, I believe that's what Councillor Dwyer is asking, is that you would bring forward bylaw 7.5, which was the bylaw to stop up and close, and then you would bring forward another bylaw to authorize execution of the purchase and sale agreement with Mr. Grimes.
And I think that's exactly what Councillor Dwyer was suggesting. And as a matter of fact, she would support it going forward tonight if it was written that way.
Okay, we'll make that amendment.
And would that satisfy the rest of council?
Yeah.
Yes. And is everybody clear on what we just decided? Deputy Clerk Bennett, you're going to have to write it.
I'm on it.
Okay, so that will come back at tonight's council meeting. Mr. Grinke, thank you so much. It has been just a delight to have you working with us for the past 4 years. And that goes to all the staff, but you've been on twice tonight, so I'm giving you an attaboy. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On 8.7, Councillor Dwyer has declared a conflict. And will you be back for the adjournment? Probably not. but that's fine. And so she has departed, and we're welcoming Chief Cheeseborough tonight to speak to 8.7 regarding the new building inspector.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, my report will deal with two items. We combined the two items, certainly due to some time constraints and urgency in the matter of getting this before you. My recommendation tonight is that Council of the Corporation of Town of Smith Falls pass a bylaw authorizing the execution of an agreement with the Town of Perth for the provisions of building inspection services on an hourly basis. And further, that Council of the Corporation of Town of Smith Falls pass a bylaw to appoint Stephen LaRue as the building inspector for the Town of Smith Falls. The background on this item: in 2021, the Town of Smith Falls entered into a shared services agreement with the Township of Merrickville-Wolford for that provision of building inspection services. At the time, the town had both the chief building official and a building inspector / plans examiner on staff. The latter left the employment of the town in earlier July of this year. His departure left a capacity deficit, which led to the termination of the shared services agreement. Since that time, our CBO has been operating beyond his capacity. Staff have been actively recruiting for a replacement inspector without success. Procuring a building inspector service through a shared services agreement will provide additional support that will assist in the processing of building and demolition permit application and plans review. During the analysis and options, staff have worked with the Town of Perth to develop an agreement that meets the expectations of both municipalities. The term of the agreement will commence December 1st, 2022 for a period of 1 year, at which time both parties will revisit to determine the validity of renewing the agreement. Some of the arrangements for the arrangement provides for the building inspector plans examiner to work 20 hours per week for the Town of Smith Falls. Highlights within the agreement: Town of Smith Falls shall pay the Town of Perth for reasonable travel expenses at a rate established by the Town of Smith Falls expense bylaw. Smith Falls shall pay any reasonable incidental charges commencing December 1st, 2022 and terminating December 1st, 2023 to be reevaluated at the end of the first term. The Town of Perth shall be responsible for invoicing Smith Falls for fees in equal quarterly installments. Smith Falls shall pay the Town of Perth an hourly rate of $69.36 for hours worked. The agreement may be terminated by either party for any reason, providing not less than 90 days prior written notice to the other party. Option 1 is to enter the shared services agreement with the Town of Perth for the provisions of building inspection services on an hourly basis and pass a bylaw to appoint Stephen LaRue as the building inspector for the Town of Smith Falls. Second option, which is not recommended, is to engage a professional talent recruiter to recruit a building inspector. The budget and financial implications: the Town of Smith Falls will pay the Town of Perth an hourly rate of $69.36 for inspection services. Associated costs are expected to be approximately $5,650 for the balance of 2022 and can be accommodated within the approved budget. Cost for 2023 will be approximately $68,000 and will be budgeted accordingly. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, I certainly support this. I guess my question to you, Chief, you gave a presentation the other day on the stresses that the building department's facing. Is this going to solve those stresses, or will we be talking about this in another year? 20 more hours, is that going to help?
Through the chair, excellent question. As presented in the presentation, a normal year would see approximately 75 new housing units. Reported on Thursday at the orientation, we are currently standing at 349 with 61 permits still to be filed. And there's also an expectation we could exceed 425 permits for this year. So to answer your question, and certainly I'm not trying to dodge it, to answer your question, this will alleviate some of the stress and strain currently being brought in through the plans examination, and will assess or assist us in some of the building inspections. Should we be facing the same increase going forward that we've seen, I would fully expect that that you will be hearing during budget deliberations the possibility of expanding that operation to ensure that we're meeting the service level agreements, as which is a standard across Ontario, and certainly to achieve the building items that we need to get done. This it's a very complex situation dealing with the plans review, and some of the construction that's taken place in the last 12 months has been extremely complex and requires dedicated time to do that, to ensure that we're not only meeting the town's expectations, but we're meeting the contractor's expectations. So at this point in time, it will alleviate some of the strain we're under. Going forward, I think that's something we're going to have to discuss and review.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Chief.
Any other comments or questions? CEO Morris?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to state that this has come together fairly quickly, and the town of Perth, I do not believe, have rendered a decision on this yet. So it will be contingent upon the town of Perth approving the agreement as well.
Thank you. Anyone that objects to the recommendation from the chief? No one. So that's great. We have a long history of working with our partners in shared service agreements one way or the other. So this is not at all unusual. And thank you for the creativity and putting it together and for the budget. So you've got support from this council to proceed. And we hope our friends in Perth agree as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no other items, I do want to thank Councillor Alford, Councillor Allen, and Councillor Dwyer. It has been my joy and pleasure to work with you. You've taught me so much, and I do want to thank you. I thank all of council, but they're going to be stuck with me for a little bit more, and you guys get to ride off into the sunset. So thank you. I would ask if you want say anything. Maybe there's an opportunity at the next council or at the council meeting. The mayor's nodding yes. So I'll leave it at that. And I'll seek a recommended motion that the committee adjourn its proceedings at 6:02 p.m. and stand so adjourned till the next duly called committee meeting. And I see Councillor Alford and Councillor Allen have both moved on and seconded. All in favor? The meeting's adjourned, and I'll tell the public, hang in there. We'll be back shortly.
If we could just have 5 minutes, I'm just sending out all the information to you because we've changed the bylaws. So, but if you can just hang on, we'll go over the movers and seconders. So bylaw 7.1, I have Councillor McKenna. Bylaw 7.2, I have Councillor Allen. Bylaw 7.3, I have Councillor Alford. Bylaw 7.4, I have Councillor Brennan. Bylaw 7.5, I have Councillor Dwyer. The addition of bylaw 7.6, that's the wording I just sent out with respect to that was the separated Burke Street. So that was the purchase and sale agreement that I've just sent out. So I've got Councillor Alford for that one. And then we have bylaw 7.7, which is the appointment of our building inspector, Stephen LaRue. That's with Councillor Allen. Miscellaneous motion 8.1, I have it with Councillor McGuire. And adjournment I have with Councillor Dwyer.
Now, I don't have an item 7.5 on my agenda.
So those are the ones that we added tonight, sorry. So, 7.5, the stop up and close, that's just the stop up and close portion of Burke Street. Would you be supportive of that?
Yeah, I can. But I don't see it.
Does anyone else not see that?
No, I don't have it either. 7.4 is on the post.
Nadine, I have you've emailed us 7.6 and 7.7. I don't see 7.5.
Okay,
And I think you said you gave me 7.6.
And then I've got another item that's in that was texted to us.
yeah, that's the new ones. So I'll send you 7.7 to you, Councillor Dwyer and Mayor Panko, just so you can see it.
And, I have 7.5 I'm missing.
Oh, but I think Nadine, I think 7.5 has not been sent to us, but then your bylaw to authorize execution of the agreement of purchase and sale with Mr. Grimes, is that
That's
already assigned?
Yeah, that's 7.6. That's the one.
No,
I have that one with Councillor Alfred.
7.6 is the appointment of Stephen LaRue.
No, we had to change those if, just because we separated that bylaw further to committee of the whole tonight. So I wanted to keep them together on the agenda. So we're gonna have the stop up and close is 7.5. 7.6 is the bylaw to authorize execution of the purchase and sale agreement with the numbered company, which is in care of Kevin Grimes. And that is with Councillor Alfred. I texted that out. And then the bylaw to appoint Stephen LaRue is now 7.7, and that is with Councillor Allen.
Okay.
So I'm going to send this to you, Councillor Dwyer, as well as Mayor Panko again, just to see if you got it.
Sure. Jay, you have the adoption of minutes. Do you have a seconder?
That'll be Nikki.
Okay. Who's got 7.1? Peter?
Councillor Alfred will probably second that for me.
Yeah.
Okay. 7.2.
Councillor McGuire, it's with me, Sean.
Sorry, you and Chris, okay.
Yeah.
Seven three.
7.3, that's execution of the docking lease agreement with the boat, McKenna.
And that's you and Peter. And 7.4.
That would be Lorraine.
No?
No, Jay's doing it. He's
You're my
gonna-
seconder.
Oh, yes,
sorry. Okay.
Is that okay?
yes, that is
You
okay.
had her panicking there.
And then Nikki is 7.5,
Yeah, so that's the road allowance.
and you're
Just-
seconder.
Jay,
Okay. Wendy is 7.6.
And that's the purchase agreement with Grimes, Peter.
And Lorraine, 7.7.
And then Councillor Brennan.
Okay. And Nikki, who's going to be your seconder on our final adjournment?
I'll say Jay, so I don't forget. And sorry, were we doing the chlorine dioxide equipment as well at 8.1?
Yes, 8.1 is Chris and
Lorraine?
Sure.
okay, so I don't have a 7.5 yet, Nadine.
Yeah.
Oh, Nikki got it.
Check your text messages.
That's purchase and sale on the text, is it? Or is it?
No, it's splitting of the road allowance or
Yes.
stop up enclosure.
We split those bylaws.
So 7.5 and 7.6 are the same issue, just split.
Yeah. Oh. My phone flips, it's on the side. Can you email it to me, Nadine, please? I try to put up what's up.
Hold on. I Sean, I rotated it in my text, so here, you should see it
Okay.
rotated.
Okay.
We're good. We got it figured out.
There, whoops. Yes, that helps. Okay, thank you. Okay. are we ready to?
Oh, I'm not sure, but okay.
Well-
Give it a rip because.
We've had 4 years of smooth sailing through meetings. We'll have the most cumbersome one ever.
Oh,
Let's wrap up. Okay.
Nadine, be watching us because I'm sure we got this.
I'm on it. I got it on eScribe here. We're good.
Okay, I assume we're still live here, right?
Yes, we're set to go.
Okay. Just gather our thoughts here for a moment. We're ready to roll back in. So welcome to this final meeting of Smith Falls, final meeting of this term for Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, November 7th. I'm going to open the meeting with our land acknowledgement. On November 7th, 2022, we acknowledge that the sacred land in which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and has rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might be here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, and being mindful of generations to come. I'll call the meeting to order. I have one proclamation to read this evening. Town of Smith Falls, 2-minute wave of silence. Whereas November 11th, 2022 is at the dawn of a century we hope will be blessed with peace. Whereas all Canadians owe a debt to the 116,000 brave young men and women who gave their lives to defend our freedom and way of life. And whereas to help secure peace for future generations, we must always remember the sacrifices, especially the young people who were always the first called in times of strife. And whereas the Royal Canadian Legion is asking all Canadians to observe a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. on November 11th, the silence will begin in Newfoundland and sweep across the country like a wave as the clock strikes 11 a.m. in each zone. Therefore, be resolved, the Council of the Town of Smith Falls hereby proclaims our support for the 2-minute wave of silence and further pledge we will participate in a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. local time on November 11th, 2022, and encourage the citizens of Smith Falls to participate in the 2-minute wave of silence. Okay. As this is our final council of this term, I just want to say, make a few comments regarding 3 of our colleagues who will not be joining us as we move forward. So Nikki, on behalf of council, I want to formally express my gratitude to you for your commitment to our community over the past 4 years, your vision, your professionalism, your wisdom, your attention to detail have all helped ensure council arrived at the best possible decisions. And it's a rarity to have a professional planner on council. And I say without reservation, your education, your experience has been invaluable. Also want to say thank you to Mike and Arlo and Olwen for everything they have done that enabled you to serve our community so effectively. And I hope your experience motivates other young professionals to consider public life in the future. Well, thank you. And Wendy, on behalf of council, I want to thank you for your legacy of accomplishments. You've helped council achieve a lot over the last 4 years. Without a doubt, the results we achieved would not have been possible without you. And your love of community and commitment to the people of Smith Falls will have a long-lasting and significant measurable impact. Your vision, your fortitude, your commitment to always do what's right helped lead council to the best decisions, even when the road ahead was difficult at times. Thank you. And Lorraine, 12 years ago, you, Jay, and I were fresh-faced councillors eagerly wanting to do our best to develop a community that we could all be proud of. And our town was facing significant challenges, and so many things, looking back, were quite uncertain. Hundreds of meetings, thousands of decisions, 3 terms later, as you retire from political life, I know you can look back with pride and look forward with optimism that you truly made a difference. Your love for this town and its people guided your decisions over these past 12 years. Without a doubt, your passion and drive has made this world a better place. You've been there every single day of my career on council, and it will not be the same without you as we move on to the next term. So to the three of you, your contributions are immeasurable. You will all be very much missed. And thank you individually and thank you collectively for making this town shine. And we owe all of you a debt of gratitude and to Peter's hands, yes, a big round of applause collectively for the three of you. And if you want at the end of this meeting, I'll give any of you a chance if you'd like to have a chance to say farewell. So moving on into our meeting here, we have no, so as for disclosure of monetary interest. Oh, Councillor Dwyer, yes.
I'm sorry, at this point in our agenda package, I don't know where it is, but it's the one with the building inspector. And I'll phase out when that comes up.
Yeah, I think it's 7.7. Thank you. Delegations, we have none. Adoption of minutes, Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by my friend and colleague, Councillor Dwyer, that the minutes of the September 19th, 2022, October 3rd, 2022, October 11th, 2022, and October 17th, 2022 council meetings be approved as circulated.
Thank you. This moved by Councillor Brennan and seconded by Councillor Dwyer. That the minutes of the September 19th, 2022, October 3rd, 2022, October 11th, 2022, October 17th, 2022 council meetings be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any reports this evening? Seeing none, we'll move right into our business. Councillor McKenna, you have the first bylaw.
Yes, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Alford. That a bylaw to appoint Isaac Taylor as a bylaw officer for the town of Smith Falls. Bylaw number 10389-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, seconded by Councillor Alford. That a bylaw to appoint Isaac Taylor as a bylaw officer for the town of Smith Falls be received read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor McKenna?
Well, it's one of those quirky little things in municipalities that I've learned that it's one of the few employees that council needs to actually pass a bylaw to appoint them, and all the rest of the staff can be, most of them are just hired through the CAO, but this is just a routine matter and we're delighted to have Isaac Taylor join us.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have the third reading, please?
As moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to appoint Isaac Taylor as bylaw officer for the town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed and numbered 10389-2022.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor Alford that a bylaw to appoint Isaac Taylor as a bylaw officer for the town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed and numbered 10389-2022. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor Allen, you have the next bylaw.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McGuire that a bylaw to amend the heritage designating bylaws respecting 11 properties currently designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Allen and seconded by Councillor McGuire that a bylaw to amend the heritage designating bylaws respecting 11 properties currently designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act be received read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Allen.
Yes, this is something that our Heritage Committee decided to invest in hiring someone to do some rewriting for us. These designations will stay in our town forever, and they need to be accurate and well done. And so we thought it was a good use of our investing our money into having them written. And that company did an amazing job. Now there are 14 done. There will be 3 more coming back, but there are 11 that will be put through this afternoon.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McGuire that a bylaw to amend the heritage designating bylaws respecting 11 properties currently designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10390-2022.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Allen and seconded by Councillor McGuire that a bylaw to amend the heritage designated bylaws respecting 11 properties currently designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act be now read a third time, finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10390-2022. All in favor? That too is carried. Thank you. Councillor Alfred, you are up next.
Thank you, your worship. This is a moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a docking lease agreement with LeBoat be received and read a first time and is taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alfred, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a docking lease agreement with LeBoat be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Discussion, please.
Yes, Mayor Panko, this is the renewal of an agreement with LeBoat. The previous one was for 5. This one is for a 7-year term to provide 7 additional dock spaces in the basin and replace a life expired dock on the Lower Reach side. The town of Smith Falls will upfront and purchase the installation costs of the proposed docks, but there's full cost recovery of the additional docking with annual lease payments. This agreement also covers the fact that when, particularly in a high season, the LeBoats are mostly out, that they will be available to more transient boaters. Council had first discussed this, I think, back in June, and negotiations have been ongoing since, and this is the result of it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't be supporting this tonight for 2 reasons. The first is that since we've entered the lame duck period of this council, I'm not comfortable giving pre-budget approval to $130,000 spend. The second reason is I don't have a clear understanding of the full cost recovery. If these docks are going to be sitting outside for 365 days a year, all weather conditions, they're going to need some kind of rehabilitation to make it to the end of their useful life. And it's not clear to me how that's included in this number. I also don't agree with using a grant application through the the Natural Infrastructure Fund to fund these docks, because the Natural Infrastructure Fund is for climate change resilience, reducing carbon emissions, improving the environment, cleaner air and water. When I think of the diesel spill, when I think of it's great to have these boats bringing people in and touring the Rideau, but it's a bunch of boats burning diesel on the canal, and I don't feel that they reflect the purpose of the fund. And I think we could have made a much stronger application with other needed infrastructure on our waterfront. We all know our parks need more investments. So for that, I won't be supporting this tonight.
Thank you. Your comments are noted. Any further comments? May I have a third reading, please?
It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a docking lease agreement with LeBoat be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10391-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alfred and seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a docking lease agreement with LeBoat be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10391-2022. Those in favor? And opposed? That is carried and noted. Thank you. On to 7.4, Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by my friend and colleague, Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meetings on the 3rd, 11th, and 17th day of October 2022, and on the 7th day of November 2022, be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Brennan and seconded by his friend, Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings at its meetings on the 3rd, 11th, and 17th days of October 2022 and the 7th day of November 2022 be received read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Brennan?
Well, this is procedural, as we do from time to time to confirm our proceedings. This time is special. This is the last confirmation of proceedings of council of this term. And I'm honored to have my friend and colleague, Councillor Allen, second this motion. And Lorraine, it's been a pleasure, and you've become a great friend. So it's procedural, but it's also symptomatic, I would say.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by my friend and colleague, Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meetings on the 3rd, 11th, and 17th day of October 2022 and the 7th day of November 2022 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10392/2022.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Brennan and seconded by Councillor Allen that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meetings on the 3rd, 11th, and 17th days of October 2022 and the 7th day of November 2022 be now read a third time, finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10392/2022. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Councillor Dwyer, I believe you're up next.
I believe I've got it. Let's see though. Bylaw to stop up and close moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan. I don't got it. That a bylaw to stop up and close the remaining unopened section of the Burke Street road allowance be received and read a first time and taken and read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Dwyer and seconded by Councillor Brennan. The bylaw to stop up and close the remaining unopened sections of the Burke Street road allowance be received for the first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor Pankow. This portion of Burke Street is unopened right now. If you drove by it, you would not know that it was a portion of a road allowance. The town has been through our procurement policies and land disposition policies to dispose of the asset, which will be a subsequent bylaw to this motion. But this is to legally stop up and close the road allowance so that on title, it is no longer considered a road allowance. It is just another parcel of land.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to stop up and close the remaining unopened section of Burke Street road allowance be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10393-2022.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Dwyer and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to stop up and close the remaining unopened sections of the Burke Street road allowance be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10393-2022. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Councillor Alfred, you are up with our second last bylaw.
I just hope I can do as well as Nikki did on that one. Moved by myself and seconded by my colleague and friend, Councillor McKenna. This is a bylaw to authorize the execution of a purchase and sale agreement with 284-7774 Ontario Inc., care of Kevin Grimes. And the bylaw would be no, we don't say that yet. So it's moved by myself, seconded by Peter, that we authorize this execution of a purchase and sale agreement with that.
Yeah, we received it a first time and taken it as read a second time.
That's the part I was missing. Yeah.
That's okay. No problem. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alfred and seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a purchase and sale agreement with 284-7774 Ontario Inc., care of K Grimes, be received for the first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion?
Yes, Your Worship, as Councillor Dwyer has stopped up and closed up that road allowance, it is now for sale and has been, this will allow the purchase of it by Mr. Kevin Grimes of this unopened Burke Street road allowance. The land is about 20,000 square feet and the proposed purchase price is 52,000 that we would be selling it to Mr. Grimes for.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Dwyer.
Yes, sorry. Despite my lack of judgment in putting my hand up, I will not be supporting this motion. This night is such a struggle for everybody. It's nothing against Mr. Grimes. I'm sure he will do wonderful things with it. But for me, this is a technicality. We're in a lame duck period, as Councillor McGuire has already said, which prevents us from disposing of assets. in excess of $50,000. And for that reason alone, I will not be supporting this application.
Yes, back to Councillor Alfred.
Just to be clear on both of those objections, authority was delegated to the CAO to carry out this kind of thing. So council is just putting its support that had been discussed for months previous on this particular one. And so we are just adding our support to the decision that we actually made months ago, but is going to be delivered actually by CAO Morris.
Yes, in fact, he has the authority to do so based on delegated authority. You're right. Okay, third reading, please.
Sorry, it's on another device here. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a purchase and sale agreement with 2847774 Ontario Inc., care of K. Grimes, be read a third time and
I'll pass on.
sealed and delivered as 10394-2022.
Thank you.
You can tell how scripted we are by Nadine.
It is moved by Councillor Alfred and seconded by Councillor McKenna. The bylaw to authorize execution of a purchase and sale agreement with 2847774 Ontario Inc., care of K. Grimes, be now with a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10394-2022. All in favor? That's carried. Opposed? That's carried. Yes, thank you. Okay, Councillor Allen, you have the final bylaw of this term of council.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to appoint Stephen LaRue as a building inspector for the town of Smiths Falls be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Allen and seconded by Councillor Brennan. The bylaw to appoint Stephen LaRue as a building inspector for the town of Smiths Falls be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Allen?
Yes, this is a good news story in that we have a lot of building going on in our town and a lot of it's going to be continuing. So we do need another building inspector, and Stephen LaRue was chosen for this position. So we wish him all the very best.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Dwyer.
Yep, nope, dropped the ball. I should have declared a conflict. Please let the record show that I am not participating.
Okay, we will not take any influence from you. Okay, third reading, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to appoint Stephen LaRue as building inspector for the town of Smiths Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10395-2022.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Allen and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to appoint Stephen LaRue as building inspector for the town of Smiths Falls be now read a third time, finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10395-2022. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8.1, Councillor McGuire, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by my good friend and neighbor and colleague and heritage advocate, Councillor Allen, that the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls authorized the purchase of chlorine dioxide generator equipment for the water treatment plant trihalomethane reduction study and intake zebra mussel control as presented in report 2022-149.
Thank you. And Councillor McGuire, I'm glad you're the one moving this. You probably understand the science behind this better than any of us. So discussion, please.
Yeah, if Jason's still with us, he can chime in if I mess this up. But right now we use chlorine to keep zebra mussels out of our intake pipes. The problem is the free chlorine molecules can react with the organic molecules in the water. So anything with carbon, and then it makes this trihalomethane. And we have to test for that because it's a known cancer-causing agent. So from May till about this time of year, we test for that when there's organic matter present. But now that we're going to switch to chlorine dioxide, the chlorine molecule is tied up with the oxygen molecule, so it doesn't react with the carbon, and it still deters the zebra mussels. So I hope that captures it.
Very impressive. Thank you. Any further discussion? I mean, I also want to take a chance on this. Oh, Councillor Alfred.
Just really, really grateful that our water engineer got that one.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Moved by Councillor McGuire and seconded by Councillor Allen. The Council of the Corporation of Town of Smith Falls authorize the purchase of chlorine dioxide generator equipment for the water treatment plant. For the water treatment plant, trihalomethane reduction study and intake zebra mussel control as presented in report 2022-149. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And that is the end of our formal business. And we have inquiries or announcements. I just wonder if anybody has anything they'd like to add. Councillor Allen, I see you back there in the background.
Thank you very much. 12 years has gone by very, very fast, and it has been very enjoyable time. 12 years ago, I went to a job fair because I had retired from teaching. I was a principal at Naismith, and I thought it was time to have a rest, and I discovered that I wasn't ready for a rest. In fact, I was ready for a job. So I went to the job fair, and Jackie Staples said to me, well, Lorraine, why don't you think about council, be on council? And I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know what council does. That would be, I don't know. Anyway, I talked to her and I talked to some other people and I signed up, and I certainly have not regretted 1 minute of it. These 12 years have gone by fast, and some of the things I'm most proud of are the Healthy Living Festival that ran successfully, the Heritage Symposium that we created, the designated buildings that we've done with the Municipal Heritage Committee, and meeting the people on my committees. And, prior to COVID, we used to have people in the audience that we interacted with and had a social life with. And I think of Ron Stronsky and the like that would come to every meeting. I want to thank all of you for your support. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be one of those Ron Stronskys in the audience. So I wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. Okay. Yes, Wendy. 1, 2.
I'll make this fairly quick. In 2003, I was only the 4th woman to be elected to Smith Falls Council. This term with Nikki and Lorraine, this is the first time there have been 3 women at the same time on council. This time in this most recent election, there were actually 7 women running, something that was completely never heard of before. So I am very much looking forward to the service of our 12th woman on council, which will be Jennifer Miller. Again, some of us have done, I say 4th, but then there's have been very few women. Some of us have repeated. I want to say how very proud I am of this council and my colleagues. It wasn't always easy. And I think I learned something from every single one of you. Nikki or Sean was right in his summation of how bright and articulate. And Nikki, I left after my first term in 2003 and I came back. I think you can do the same when your boys are older. It'll make it easier on you, believe me. Chris has become a friend and a colleague and has taught me so much about how engineers think and so much about what young people his age are capable of. And I wish more of them would enter politics. Jay, I think to the frenemies that our mothers were, and I think we had a similar relationship, but I very much enjoyed the battle at times. Lorraine, you're like, what's the Mother Teresa of politics when you're in Smith Falls? I don't know what they call that, St. Lorraine maybe. You have just been a bright light this whole time, even in some of this council's darkest hours. You were one of my bright lights, and I cannot thank you enough for that. Peter McKenna, you were a friend of my brother's. You were just some kid, snotty-nosed kid from down on another street. I can't believe who you turned out to be, and I am very grateful for your mentorship, your ethics, the core values that you carry around must be heavy every day, because I'm telling you, you're really one of the gentlemen that I've ever met in my entire life. That was as acknowledged and supported women being in politics and at every other level of this world. So for that, I'm extremely and forever grateful. Sean, I didn't know you at all when we started, but you two have become really, again, someone who has core values that everyone should aspire to. I cannot tell you how much I have appreciated your leadership in the last 4 years. And actually the 4 years before that made me think that I could do council for this term because I watched you in the previous term. I am very grateful to all of my colleagues on council, every single one of you. I think I will miss you, even the ones that we didn't particularly get along all the time, but at least there was a sense of humor. And to our staff, I'm not sure that you could get anybody better than we had this last 4 years. I think every individual on staff rose to every challenge we threw at them, and God knows we threw a lot at them. So I am forever, and I can only see Nadine's face. So you will have to be the face of staff, Nadine. We were very fortunate to have all of you along for this ride the last 4 years. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Nikki.
I wasn't going to. In fact, when Sean that this was going to be our opportunity, I said, "Nah, I'm good. Don't worry about it." But now I feel like I should. And so when I resigned my post in Smiths Falls on staff several years ago, I did so by quoting Frank Sinatra's "The Best Is Yet to Come," because I really did feel like not only personally but professionally, I was moving on to bigger and better things. But I did so knowing that one day, it's a small municipal world, I would be back in some capacity in Smiths Falls. And lo and behold, I was so humbled to be elected to sit on this council. And like Wendy said, it's been up and down. So instead of quoting "The best is yet to come," which I do still feel is the case, instead I'm going to quote Frank Sinatra's New York, or misquote Frank Sinatra's New York, New York lyrics, which read, "If you can make it up here, you can make it anywhere. But right now, Smiths Falls, it's up to you. Oh, Smiths Falls, Smiths Falls." And I do think it's true. It's been a rough ride. We all learned a lot this term, whether or not you're a veteran around the horseshoe or not. But I really do appreciate all the Monday nights I've sat with you. I apologize profusely for the naked small children in the background, or paper airplanes and balls flying by. I was so relieved to hear Sean say he thinks I'm a professional, because certainly most Zoom nights it did not feel that way. But thank you so much. It's been a great 4 years, and hopefully one day I will be back in a similar capacity, sitting around the horseshoe making good decisions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any of my other colleagues want to say anything before we move on to adjournment? No, we'll have lots of time to talk more over the next 4 years. Nikki, back to you for adjournment.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by my mentor, Councillor Brennan, that this council adjourn its proceedings at 6:43 and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of a new council.
Thank you. It was moved by Councillor Dwyer and seconded by Councillor Brennan. This council adjourns